Easter is a special time where all disputes should go down the drain. For this special time, wishes were extended by the Polish presidential couple. On the occasion of the holidays of the resurrection of the Lord, we extend our best wishes for all prosperity. May this festive time be filled with peace and joy. May the hope of the victory of good over evil brought by Christ ring in your homes. This year's Easter is special because it is celebrated simultaneously by all Christians. We wish you that the coming holidays will be a time of reflection, as well as successful meetings with loved ones and strengthening family ties in an atmosphere of domestic warmth and kindness. Karol Nawrocki, who is running for the president of Poland, also addressed the faithful. From the bottom of our hearts, we wish you a blessed, joyful, and peaceful Easter holiday. Easter is the perfect time to stop for a moment and spend time with your family and not talk about problems, at least for a while. A typically Polish tradition associated with Easter is the so-called święconka, an Easter basket of blessed food. Its largest specimen can be found in the subcarpathian region of Poland in Rudnik on the San River. It is admired by tourists from all over Poland. Polish Easter customs are primarily the blessing of the food basket, painting Easter eggs, preparing the traditional sour soup or borscht, and of course, Wet Monday. But all over the world, Easter customs are surprising, and even close European countries have their own unique and often peculiar customs. Easter, called Semana Santa in Spain, which means Holy Week. It is distinguished by unforgettable processions lining the streets of cities. Spaniards are a deeply believing nation, but they reconcile their faithfulness with their vivaciousness, which is why their Holy Week is an energetic fiesta. Easter in Hungary is not only a time of reflection and spiritual renewal, but also an opportunity to celebrate the rich culture and traditions that are the pride of the country. During the Easter season, cities come alive with colors, flavors, and unique customs. One of the most interesting customs associated with Easter celebrations in Hungary is the tradition of pouring water. In the United Kingdom, Easter is mainly associated with the egg, which is a symbol of spring and new life. It is the main character of many games, in which not only children, but also adults take part. The most popular game is egg rolling, which is a race in rolling Easter eggs. The winner of the competition must reach the finish line as quickly as possible, of course, without breaking the precious egg along the way. The game is said to be associated with discovering the stone to the tomb where the body of the crucified Jesus Christ rested. The Sorbs of Eastern Germany are one of the oldest minorities in Europe, and they in turn celebrate Easter in a very unusual way. In the village of Rohe, women passing through the village sit around a lamppost and sing Easter carols. It's an old legend that singing religious songs will convey the message of Jesus' resurrection. It is also traditional to have a procession on horseback of men in black suits and top hats, singing traditional carols to spread the Easter message. Every country has its own way to celebrate life, rebirth, and hope. There was supposed to be a ceasefire and a halt to shelling for Easter. Shortly after Russia's declared ceasefire went into effect, anti-aircraft alerts and the rumble of anti-aircraft batteries sounded over Ukrainian cities. Not for the first time, the Russian dictator's promise had nothing to do with reality. Yesterday, after he spoke about the ceasefire, an anti-aircraft alert was declared. We were monitoring the situation. Ballistic missiles and Shahed drones were coming. This was right after the ceasefire was announced. What is this ceasefire? He lied as always. Ukrainians have no doubt that this is a procedure solely calculated for strategic troop movements. No one believes in this ceasefire. You've seen and heard it yourself. Alarm sirens, reconnaissance drones. He probably wants to rearm the army. That's why no one believes him anymore. The Ukrainian president warned against trusting Moscow's promises. In his Easter message, he stressed that no one is thinking of laying down arms on Russian terms.
А Бог
We know what we are defending. We know what we are fighting for whom and for whose sake. And that's why every time, no matter how hard it is, we still don't lose faith. Faith, however, is getting harder and harder to come by, all the more so because after several months of trying, the United States may withdraw from mediation between Kiev and Moscow. The recent bloody Russian attacks on Ukrainian civilians in Sumy and Kryvyi Rih have probably run the scales of American patience.
We're going to see more of that. We're trying to prevent it. But we're not going to continue to fly all over the world and do meeting after meeting after meeting if no progress is being made. So if they're serious about peace, either side or both, we want to help. If it's not going to happen, then we're just going to move on. We're going to move on to other topics that are equally, if not more important in some ways, to the United States.
The Americans don't want to take part in the Russians' diversionary theater. That's what the peace negotiations have come down to, covered by Russian attacks on children playing on playgrounds. However, recent meetings of the Secretary of State, including in France, indicate preparations for a change in strategy. All the more so because Ukraine has signed a mineral agreement with the United States, and this means that the Americans will have a sizable share of the Ukrainian mining market, and enough reason to secure their own interests in Ukraine. Elkana Bochbot, one of 24 hostages still alive and still being held by Hamas terrorists. Mom, dear Mom, I know you are fighting for me. I know you well. Take care of my wife and son. Take care of them. I love you. The Israeli military announces that it will not rest until it has recaptured all hostages and eliminated every Palestinian Hamas militant. Negotiations with the terrorists are over. The Israeli army is entering the Gaza Strip and attacking from land and air. The release of hostages in exchange for the withdrawal of Israeli troops is an old offer, and according to Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, its validity has expired. If we don't complete the work of destroying Hamas, if we don't knock out these terrorists, if we don't blow up their weapon depots and hideouts, then it is only a matter of time when the next October 7th will happen again. On October 7th, 2023, Hamas terrorists entered Israeli soil, kidnapping innocent and defenseless people, raping and killing women, men, and children. Today, Israel is responding with force. Things are very dangerous in the Middle East, and not just over the Easter holiday. It is the prospect of the coming weeks and even months. The impasse in the implementation of the peace agreements we witnessed earlier clearly indicates that the Israeli government, especially with the strong support of the Donald Trump administration, plans to further crack down on terrorist organizations that are constantly threatening the security of Israeli society. The Israeli government has received such a tailwind when it comes to its policy of pacifying terrorist groups. So surely the coming weeks will be a period of violent combat operations, in my opinion. Donald Trump proposed a ceasefire in the Middle East. It started promisingly as militants released 38 hostages and Israel released Palestinian prisoners. But Hamas terrorists have not kept their end of the deal.
I couldn't believe what they had to go through, by the way. But when I met them, they said, yeah, there's 59, but 24 are living. And they actually consider, I guess if you're a parent, you do consider it this way, that the remainder who are dead, the 24 that are alive, the remainder that are dead.
Perhaps some of the hostages would have been left alive had it not been for the mediation of the American leader. Now the families of those kidnapped and those who have returned from captivity are again asking him for help.
President Trump, thank you for bringing me and so many hostages home. When we met, I told you that you've been sent by God to save us, and I believe it with all my heart. Every day in captivity, I was praying for a miracle to happen. I got to hug my mother and father.
For this day, the relatives of the kidnapped hostages have been waiting for a year and a half. Every year on Easter Sunday, the eyes of the whole world turn to the Vatican, where at noon, the Pope delivers a message, Urbi et Orbi, to the city and the world. Just a few weeks ago, when doctors at the Gemelli Clinic were fighting for the health and life of Pope Francis, there were serious doubts whether the 88-year-old Pope would still meet with the faithful. The 35,000 people who attended the Easter Mass in St. Peter's Square can speak of joy. Not only did the Pope come out to the faithful, but afterwards he still went around the square in his Pope-mobile. I would like us to have renewed hope that peace is possible. May the light of peace radiate from the Holy Tomb, from the Church of the Resurrection, where this year Easter is celebrated on the same day by Catholics and the Orthodox, to the entire Holy Land and to the whole world. This is the message of peace. The Pope spoke to all communities suffering from war, Israel, Gaza, and the ever-dwindling group of Christians there, the tormented Ukraine, and most, if not all, areas of the world where violence is occurring. Let us pray for the Christians in Lebanon and Syria, which is going through a difficult period of transition. May the entire Church and all Christians in the beloved Middle East remain constantly in our thoughts and prayers. Let us also mention the particularly difficult situation of the people of Yemen, who are experiencing an ongoing humanitarian crisis due to the war. I urge everyone to seek solutions, not through violence, but through constructive dialogue. May the risen Christ give war-tormented Ukraine the gift of Easter peace. May he make all parties strive for a just and long-lasting peace. In his message, the Pope called for coming to grips and stopping armaments. He wrote the following: "There is no peace where there is no freedom of religion, freedom of thought, speech, and respect for the views of others. No peace is possible without true disarmament. The need each nation has to provide for its own defense cannot be transformed into a general arms race."
Pater, et Filius, et Spiritus Sancti.
Pope Francis found the strength to go out to the faithful and ride in the Pope-mobile. This is the first direct meeting with the faithful in several months. Earlier, he spoke for a few minutes with U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance, who came with his family to spend Easter in the Christian capital. In St. Peter's Square, among the 35,000 faithful, were many Polish people who have lived in Rome for years, as well as pilgrims from Poland and even the United States. We walk around with an Easter basket to bless the food. Italians don't do that. Italians have a more relaxed approach to Easter. They're more family-oriented, but there's less church in it. It is something very beautiful to experience Easter here, but I will honestly say it is best in Poland. There, I feel most at home. The viewers we met in Rome sent their simple but heartfelt wishes to the entire Free Speech House community. Happy Easter to America and Poland, from Marysia Tokiewicz. Rome celebrates the resurrection of the Lord and remembers the duty of Christians to bring to the world the hope brought by, in the words of Pope Francis, the most important event in human history. Vatican, Aleksander Wierzejski, Republika.